Hey everyone, how are you?
Good to see you.
Great to see you again as well. In your book, you dedicate a whole part, a very interesting part, on the impacts of three cohorts of new consumers, or consumers who are going to have a strong impact in the luxury business in the future. We're talking about the women, we're talking about the Asians, especially the Chinese, and the youth. Can you tell us more about these three populations and how you see the impact they're going to have on the future of luxury?
Yeah, so these are the three cohorts of consumers which make me actually quite optimistic about the next 10 years of luxury demand. So ladies first, so yes, my first chapter is called The Future is Female, which did surprise a few people in the industry because they were saying, well, the future, why the future? The present is female already, the past was female for this industry. The idea of the future was female is more this idea of what the Japanese politicians have called womenomics. So this idea that you have more and more women actually contributing to the workforce. You have a lower gap in terms of packages being paid. You have the reality that people are getting married later, if ever, are having kids later, if at all. And so that frees up a lot of spending power from female consumers. So when I say the future is female, I'm more thinking about the incremental growth that's going to come over the next 10 years than the reality, which is already quite female today, yes.
Okay.
The second cohort is indeed Asian consumers and specifically Chinese consumers. I think recently you've had a few doubts with COVID-19 cases flaring up here and there in certain regions. You've had fears around common prosperity and what that might mean. I still believe that the capacity the brands have to recruit a lot more Chinese consumers over the next 10 years is still quite tremendous. And oftentimes I'm asked, what's the next China? Is it India, Indonesia, Brazil, etc.? Well, the next China for me is more China, at least for the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
And then thirdly, yes, I talk about youth, because 5-6 years ago, people would have thought that the next generation would have less interest in luxury. And it's exactly the opposite that has happened. Partly thanks to social media, partly thanks to brands actually strategizing around youth. Now, youth comes with a lot of enthusiasm, but also a bit of pressure, casualization, digitalization, values. They're asking tougher questions than their elders, but they are a great recruiting pool as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for these insights. So what does it mean for retail teams?
I think it means you're moving from a slightly arrogant or distant approach where you were basically just trying to sell products without really knowing who you were selling to an approach where you take into account the specifics of the communities you're supposed to mirror. So again, maybe in terms of staff, it means women, youth, diversity, maybe more Asian, staff eventually, whenever the Chinese ecosystem will reopen. Chinese are not traveling today. It might take 1 or 2 years more for them to start to pick up in terms of outbound travel, but being the mirror of the people you're actually selling to. Being the mirror of your community. So it also means more proximity, more knowledge, more communication and exchange between the brands and the end consumers.
Great. Thank you very much, Erwan, for these insights again. It's been a pleasure to exchange with you and see you in the next episode.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
See you
everyone.
soon.
Thank you.